Good evening, everyone. This is another episode of Her Journey, where the Her stands for Healing, Evolving, and Redefining. Our journey as we go through life. And our purpose is to really just try to have conversations with women, as we were just talking about people in general,
Yeah.
um, just trying to share how we're making it through, because none of us can say that we've done it all on our own.
Hmm.
And how important that is to have people to communicate with. So I am one of your co-hosts, Cassandra Cast, and my partner,
It's Jackie Karen.
yes. And today we have a gentleman, which I'm so excited to talk to this man. This is
Yeah.
a spawn off from the conversation we had with Sharon Clancy,
Hmm.
to talk about the financial part of life and how important that is. His name is Nicholas Josey, and he has a company that he runs, and I am so excited to talk to him. And I am going to allow him to introduce himself because his company and everything is just sounds so interesting and so wonderful, to help build us up and give us some direction so that we can come out of and stop having the mindset that we can only go so far, which is
Hmm.
absolutely not true. So, Mr. Nicholas,
That would be
it's
me.
on you.
Sandra and Jackie, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to speak to you and with you. And like you said, I am the executive director of a Boston-based nonprofit organization called the Vincita Institute. And we help people with regards to financial education and financial literacy programming. That's on the surface, but we do many other things. We help people with probate, estate planning, and financial coaching. And what we talk about, the reason why that's important, I think, to me is because when I got off the road about 21 years ago, I used to work for a large financial services company. When I got off the road, I wanted to be able to speak to people in our community
Yeah.
and talk to them about the importance that of not limiting ourselves and talking to
Hmm.
them about the importance of savings, investments, insurance, and all those things. So, I
Hmm.
think more people in our community need to be aware of those things, but that's why I do it.
Hmm.
Awesome. So I saw in your caption about your company, what does Vincenta stand? What does that mean? And I love it though, but I want you to explain it.
So when I was thinking about financial things and how people have struggles with it, I want people to become victorious. So I chose the Italian word for victory, and it means
Nice.
victory of the people, vincita. And so that's where there's a hidden meaning. But when we talk to
Hmm.
people, we want to empower them. So that's how we came up with the name.
Hmm. I
So
love that.
yeah, I love that
Yeah.
too. That sounds really,
Hmm.
really good.
Hmm.
So you now have had this company you've been off the road for about 20 years.
Mhm.
And how big is your company? And you're Boston based, is that correct?
Boston
So do you
based.
like travel to churches and other different in communities to reach out to people? And so
Yes.
how does it work
So
to reach people?
it works. There's four of us now. So I have Liz in Florida. I have Walter, who does the legal stuff in Rhode Island, and I have Maria, who does the tech stuff in New Jersey. And I'm the kind of the face of the organization, but the smart people are behind me. So with COVID, we had some challenges. So it helped us to shift and still stay focused. So much of what we do, the little things we do virtually,
Mhm.
but the bigger things we're speaking in person again. We're traveling around the country and getting the word out. And so that's what we enjoy.
That is really awesome.
Hmm.
So, I just want to hear, how did you get started in this? So you work for a big financial corporation. Is that what you went to school for? How did you get started into it?
Well, it goes back even further than my education, my formal education. Um, and I think when people read about my bio or whatever, but it- I have seven brothers and three sisters, and
Would say that again.
seven brothers and three sisters.
Wow, nice.
So, and
That's a
and
nice
so
gathering at the
yeah,
holidays.
yeah, but it's changed over the years. But
Yeah.
and many years ago, in '74, we took we took things for granted. You say hi, um, uh, don't touch my Al Green record because you scratched it last time. Those types of things. And we just say, and then and then they go out the house and then we assume that we're going to pick the conversation back up.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is sometimes, and what happened in our family is I had a big brother that didn't come back home.
Mm-hmm.
And, with that many kids, my dad wasn't thinking about anybody preceding him. So
Mm-hmm.
my dad's a hardworking, proud mechanic, auto mechanic, self-employed, and he had to ask some of his friends for some help.
Mm-hmm.
And, so he had enough money for the service. But what was interesting is he had two emergencies, as life would happen. So the money that he borrowed, he had to stretch it.
Yeah.
So we had enough money for the service, but we didn't have enough money for the burial. And so my hero, my first superhero, was my big brother, Junior. He's buried in a city-owned property, and they call that Potter's Field. And
Mm-hmm.
when I looked it up when I was a little older, I said, well, that's where they put derelicts, indigents, and bums. That's not us. We were just broke.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure, I mean, that's what planted the seed. I wanted to make sure that that didn't happen to anyone else's superhero. So I knew at some point after I got out of school that I wanted to go into financial services and make
Yes.
sure that people had insurance. We didn't have insurance.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't think about insurance back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And that was way before GoFundMe.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked for American Express Financial Advisors for a number of years. And then I transitioned to another mid-sized company and then a larger company, which was Putnam Investments. But that was always the focus, is trying to help people so that didn't happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because in the conversation with the previous young woman, um, one of the big things that I was talking about was the life insurance portion. And I remember trying to just explain that to my parents who have since passed away, trying to make sure that they have something. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it makes me crazy. Everybody waits and thinks the GoFundMe page is our insurance. And in our community, that is so, it just really just irks me that we intentionally, pretty much, we just set it aside and whatever, whatever, whatever. And so I can understand what your dad was talking about. And I have those concerns as well. And that is a big to do that it doesn't take much, but the thought is you should just be prepared. Just be prepared for something. And honestly, we don't know, but at least to have something, and you get the two sides of people. I'm not leaving anything to this and this and this. And then the other ones, they want to take care of everybody and leave $1 million. But just to be able to do what needs to be done is really the basis of what should be going on in the thought process in our heads. And I thank you for sharing that. I did see in your bio about that, and that's kind of what shapes us in a lot of ways over the course of our lives and how we end up going in certain directions. Now, do you have formal education in finance? Did you end up doing any formal education in finance?
Yeah, so I was an econ major at Northeastern, and I ran track there. But so that kind of helped shape it. But then I got licenses.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to sell. I had a Series 7 license,
Yes.
and I had insurance to sell life insurance, accident insurance, and health insurance. So life insurance is simple. Accident was disability, and health insurance was long-term care.
Okay.
And what's interesting is this, if many people in our community, if I ask them about those types of things, or like investments, I used to sell stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and things like that. But if I talk to you about those things, I get a blank stares. But I said, well, tell me about what you're wearing. Oh yeah, well, I got this at 50% off, and this is name brand, and I'm like, well, okay, but we should have the same type of conversation about your financial future as it
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
is about these things that you spent money on that aren't going to appreciate in value.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll tell you this, just to go further back. I was raised by the matriarch of our family, my aunt, my father's oldest sister. And we were from a town in North Carolina. We were dirt floor, dirt poor. Now, I was born in Boston, but she would always tell me about the stories about how my grandfather died during the Depression and they just had to figure it out. And there was no money. There was no
Yeah.
insurance, and so they just had to figure it out, and there wasn't a whole lot of resources there. So
Mm-hmm.
she always talked about the importance of helping helping people and not counting the costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also she said, listen, I didn't get a chance to get my education. So Nick, I'm going to tell you three things I want you to do. I want you to get your lesson, do your chores, and make sure you do something for somebody else and don't count the costs. So she told me
Mm-hmm.
that when she took me in 46 years ago, and it stuck with me.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
that's that's really good. Don't count
Mm-hmm.
up the cost. And that would really help our society a lot these days. That would really help us a lot. Wow. So can you explain a little bit about um you said you got your formal education in e-commerce. What is
Economics, I'm sorry.
yeah, okay. E-commerce economics. I did terrible in economics. I'm serious. I that was one of the classes that just was not happening. But you also just said about long-term care. Um, you don't hear as much about people talking about that much
Yeah.
anymore. I think back when I was younger, I used to hear a lot of people talking about it and trying to sell that. So why
Mhm.
don't you hear about it as much anymore? Is this because we've gone on to have more jobs that have financial packages or insurance that includes that? Or is it still something that really people need to take a second look at, that they should probably think about purchasing this long-term care?
Yes.
Separately.
You all of the above.
Oh,
Yes, all of the above. With long-term care, what it is it helps, and some people you can't get it with some companies until you're age 50. So young people can't get it. And what it's designed to do is help people when they get older.
mm-hmm.
And they want you to be able to pay for this for a number of years before you have difficulties with activities of daily living,
Yeah,
meaning you can't take care of your personal and financial affairs, meaning whether it's bathing, eating,
Mm-hmm.
those basic things. The long-term
Yeah.
care has different levels to it. It has um, we can have some in-home care. Someone can come to your house and help you out a little bit. And then they said, well, grandma and grandpa can't be in the house anymore. So we need to let them go to an assisted living facility. And
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
then, let them do the insurance pays for that. And then
Yeah,
if that's not enough, then they go to the full-blown nursing home care.
yeah,
And what the reason why people buy this is because if you have insurance to pay for those coverages, they're not going to take the house.
Mm, okay.
See, right now, a lot of people don't have that coverage. So if they have, that's the reason why the facility will ask a senior, well, what do you have for assets? I
mm-hmm.
have the house, I have the car. Well, great. We're going to put a lien on those things
On
and
all of
we're going to
those,
take you
yes.
in, and all those
Okay.
things will become ours.
Wow.
Hey, and what is the best way to not have that happen if someone was in that situation?
Well,
Is it too
if they're
late?
in the
Like once
situation,
they're already at that at that point, is it too
yeah,
late to do anything about it?
yes. Well, yes and no. I apologize. Um, if we have 5 years, I always ask people to try to be proactive. So let's say that we couldn't
Yeah.
get the insurance. So we're at an age where we're not going to get insurance, it's too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
The government has this thing called a 5-year look back. That means whatever assets that was in your name 5 years ago, you need to move those things out of your
Oh,
name
yes.
5 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
before you even think about needing assistance from a facility, assisted living or full-blown long-term care facility, because
Okay.
if those things are in your name, they want to lay claim to those things.
Yeah.
Mm,
And right now, I deal with a lot of people where they know they don't have the insurance. They are working around the clock. They're taking shifts to look out for the matriarchs and patriarchs of their families
yeah.
Yeah.
because they said if he or she goes into a facility, they're going to take the house.
Yeah.
Mm,
And I'm asking people now, I want everyone to be proactive. I want people to know that there's a possibility that these things can happen
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
and do something about it.
Yeah.
And we grew up knowing that a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Does
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
absolutely makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. And
Mm-hmm.
I asked this, I had this situation with the family member that this is going through this right now and doing that 5-year look back, states are looking back, well, the house was in her name. There's nothing you could do about it now. And it's just so hard. And like I said, I remember going through this with my parents, and just basic, just can we just get a little bit of insurance, 5,000 something? Because you don't want to get to that point and then you have nothing. And
Yeah.
what will you do? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that was the other reason that I really wanted to try to add on to this from Sharon. I just think it's so important that we build our community up. We're
Yeah.
trying to reach them before it's too late. That's the whole point of this. And it is really my heart that I want to reach as many people as possible. And not just the finances. Yeah, I'd love to have $1 million and send everybody off to college,
Mhm.
but the reality of it is I don't.
Yeah.
So if I can just kind of help you and you can explain that because you can explain it way better than I can, about all of this. And I honestly just didn't even think about long-term care anymore. I honestly haven't heard about it in so long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, and to try to tell people, what do you do? It's 5 years out. So,
Mhm.
um, it's 5 years out, and it is hard to get someone that's an elder life insurance. So, what is their next best option? You know?
And I'm going to answer your question, and those are great questions. And part of the programming is I focus on 5 things. I'm not that smart, so I keep it simple, and I focus on savings.
Mm-hmm.
I focus on making sure you have adequate protection. That could include insurance, life insurance, long-term care, you name it, disability insurance. I look at and having the discussion about investing. We
Yeah.
talk about all the other things, but we don't talk about investing at the kitchen table.
Hmm.
And most people are working. So I said, well, look, what are you doing for retirement? That's the fourth thing I talk about. You have to have a time when you're going to stop working.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last part is estate planning.
Hmm.
Okay. And I'll explain those to you. So the savings, I ask people, I want you to have adequate savings. I want you to work on building up what we call things that will provide peace of mind to you. I said, look, 3 to 6 months of your bills should be liquid
Yes.
because we have people with road rage, we have people with just anger issues because oftentimes it's financial. So
Mm-hmm.
the guy driving in his car, he's beeping his horn and rushing. He can't call in sick anymore. He can't call in dead, so he's beeping at you. Um, that's none of your concern. But he's stressed, and you
Yeah.
have to let him hey, listen. There's an accident you're trying to get to. You go right ahead. You go ahead and pass me. You go right. But we have to encourage people to look at the bill of goods that they sold us. They said, you're nothing unless you look this way. You're nothing unless you drive this or you wear this
Mm-hmm.
or you have this. So
Hmm.
what's interesting is this, the people who are selling it are people who are selling things to us.
Yeah.
So they don't care if your lights are getting cut off, but they want to make sure that you look good.
Yeah.
And our
Yeah.
community wants to look good versus feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I speak, I said, listen, I don't really care about how you look.
Yeah.
I care about how you feel.
Hmm.
And when you have that peace of mind, and I'm not going to do no cursing or anything like that, but I tell people when you're saving your money, you want to get to that FU number.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone here has worked for a boss that wasn't very nice.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
have adequate savings and you like, you know what? That's the last time he's going to speak to me this way. I reach my FU number, my forget you number. Keep it clean. Forget
Yeah.
you. I'm out.
Yeah.
Okay. Forget you. I'm out. And that
Yeah.
means you have enough cushion where you can take your time
And
and
look,
look for something and work for people who are going to be nice to you.
absolutely.
Mm.
Because when you're under stress, do you think you make more mistakes or fewer mistakes?
More.
Absolutely
And
more.
then if they're gunning for you, that's their reason to get rid of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So true.
So I worked on that part first, work on
Hmm.
building up savings. I don't care if it's $10 a week if you get it, 12.50
Yeah.
a week. That's uh, uh $25, it's $50 a month, $600 a year.
Right.
If you weren't doing it, start somewhere. It's a
Yeah.
victory for you because oh, I was normally I was spending this. I always say, look at how you can like don't eat out all the time. Save,
Yes.
do it once a week if you can. All that money that you don't spend is an opportunity for you to save.
Save it.
Hmm.
And we got to get into that habit because everyone wants your money. You have, and the reason why people at these big companies that are right down the street from me, the reason why these big companies don't come to you is because they look at the community and they say they have purchasing power, which is great, but they don't have savings discipline.
Mm-mm.
And
Mm.
we're not going to go into that community and try to reach them and try to get any money because they'll give us $100 and 2 weeks later they want 50 out of it. And that's not how investing in savings works.
Yeah.
So we got to encourage people to in the community, and it's white, black, purple, green. It doesn't discriminate the orientation, nothing. It applies to everyone. If they save their money and they do it enough, they're going to have peace of mind,
Hmm.
and they're not going to take a whole lot of nonsense. And then the second part is I ask people to make sure that when you step out your house, you don't know if you're going to make it back home.
That's right.
I learned at a very early age. I learned at 9. Like there's no guarantee.
Mhm.
So if you have the ability to get some type of insurance,
Hmm.
that's great. There's 4 types. Can't explain them all to you right now, but I will tell you what they are. Whole life. That's the first type of insurance that came out a long time ago. Then
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
came out with term. Then they came
Mhm.
out with universal life. Then they came out with variable universal life. There's no one size that fits all. There's
Right.
Yeah.
something, but I ask people to look at what you need, meaning,
Mhm.
Chris Rock said, when some people die, they leave a will, and other folks dies, folks that look like us, they leave a bill. But but we don't want to be those people anymore.
Yeah.
So get what you need. Like, okay, if it's 15,000, get 15,000. If it's 20 to cover the
Yeah.
whole thing, get to 20. And you'll
Mhm.
find that different companies will say, okay, well, with your budget, you can afford this. This is what you should have.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And you stick with it. And let me tell you something. Some folks will say, well, you know what? They're going to cut my cable off, but I couldn't do that. But I didn't pay my insurance last month. Come on.
Mm.
That insurance is your
Priority.
guarantee that you're not going to put stress on your people that you say you love.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And let me
That's
explain
yeah.
something to you.
That's a big
That's
of
big.
mine.
So that could eliminate the GoFundMe. And the thing is this, with insurance, I'm not selling it today, but what I'm saying is when you uh when you have a car, you have to have insurance.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you at a job, you have health insurance.
Yeah.
Um uh you know,
And now in the state of Massachusetts, you have
it's,
to have health
you have to have
insurance.
the health
So,
insurance, or otherwise it's a penalty, right?
yeah.
So you might have a car accident, and then renters and homeowners insurance, right? You have to have those. So you might have an issue. You might get sick. You might have an accident. You might might have a loss with the apartment or your house. But that's a maybe. But we're definitely going to die.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And why don't they make that mandatory?
Hmm. Good point.
You with me?
Yeah.
Very good point. Yes, sir.
So the other
Hmm.
thing I'm asking is because the society said we're going to take those chains off of those folks, but you know what? They'll still be enslaved because you know what they're doing? They're spending a whole lot of money wearing our stuff, driving our stuff, and wearing our stuff. And
Mhm.
all those things are not assets. All those
Hmm.
things depreciate in value.
It
Hmm.
So
depreciates
we don't
value.
need to speak to them about investing because they're not going to do that.
They're not gonna do
Yeah.
it.
But they sure look good though, don't they?
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
But so investing, no, that's not part of your strategy. That's not part of what we're going to. So, like I said, that company that has over $1 trillion on the people they manage over $1 trillion, right? I'm not going to call any names, but you can go on Boylston Street, you'll find them.
Hmm.
And they're hiding in plain sight. People will pass right by this storefront on the first floor and go to their favorite steakhouse, their favorite clothing store, their favorite amusement, and they're
Hmm.
hiding in plain sight. So if you don't, what they say, those who have an ear to hear or
Yes.
eyes to see,
Hmm.
Yeah.
And if you don't have an understanding, oh, they're right there.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
just walk on by because we don't want to do business with you if you don't know who we are. We have $1 trillion. You don't know who we are?
Yeah.
And then the thing is, I'm asking people, you have these employers that say, well, we have a retirement plan. It's up to you to figure it out.
Figure it out.
But you use the retirement plan as a means of putting a little something away. So when you stop working, you have something to fall back on.
Something.
And if you don't believe me, look at what they're talking about in current events with Social Security.
Mm.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the last thing, I'm not going to preach or anything like that, but the last thing is the exit strategy. When we
Mm.
leave here, we have to, or if we leave or we're getting ready to leave, we have to have a plan.
Yeah.
And like I said, everything I'm talking about is being proactive. We know
Yes.
we're going to have an emergency. That's why we have an emergency fund. We
Mhm.
know that we're not getting out of this thing called life alive, so we need to have
Right.
some type of
Okay.
insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't call me. I listen, my phone goes off at 11 o'clock because I would get calls at midnight saying, Nick, can you help me out here? And like one fool said, we were thinking about burying grandma in the field, and we need you to hold the light. She's- She needs a death certificate, fool. So you can't do that. Call the coroner and tell her she's what happened. But
Oh my
but
gosh.
so yeah, nothing good happened after 11 o'clock. But then part of the exit strategy is um we need to have a will.
Yeah.
People think, oh, I need to have a gazillion dollars. No, you don't. If
No.
you have two nickels, if you have a house, a car, or personal items, you need to have a will.
Yes.
The will says who gets your stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you have some hanky family members, you can say who don't get your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then who's going to be the executor? Who's going to
Yeah.
give people the
Yeah.
bad news?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then if you have minor children, you need to put it in writing who
Yes.
gets those minor children because they may have
Mhm.
a no count parent, mother or father that you don't want them to go to.
Right.
Put
Mm-hmm.
it in writing.
Yep.
And like I said, when I talked about things that people are going to need in advance,
Mm-hmm.
they'll ask, "Oh, do you have a will?" And typically, folks that look like us, no, don't have a will. Okay, okay, you didn't pass that test. But how about this? Do you have your family member is they're skipping steps, they don't have their memory, they can't do all the things they used to do for themselves. We need to name someone who can do those things for them.
You can do
What
the
is
Yeah.
that? Well, do you have a durable power of attorney?
yeah. A
Well, the
what?
durable power of attorney says, well, you can take that person when they're in their right mind and healthy, they name someone to take care of
Mm-hmm.
their personal and financial affairs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You deal with the doctors, not so
Yes.
any financial, insurance, investments, all these companies, the mortgage people, you are empowered to do those things for
Yes.
this person. And that document's so important. It needs to be signed, witnessed, and notarized.
And notarize it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. So at some point, that person may not be able to do those things that they're able to do now, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
that power of attorney says, this is the person I trust, love, and will take care and look out for my best interest.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
No, that was good. That
No,
was very well
I
said.
In the last part of your exit strategy, so the will is when you leave. The
Yeah.
durable power of attorney is when you're not 100%
so
anymore,
right.
but your healthcare proxy, you dealt with this,
Yeah.
the healthcare proxy. You name the person who loves you and cares for you. You fill out a form. Even in Massachusetts, there's a really simple
Yes.
form, 2 pages. It's called
There is.
MOLST.
Mhm.
And it's basically boy, I'm full day and I can't think right now, but um, uh, medical orders of life-saving treatment.
Right.
And what that does is it says, listen, do you want to be resuscitated or do
Yes.
you want us to let you go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because the doctors, their job, part of the Hippocratic Oath is first do no
Okay.
harm. Do
Yeah.
whatever they can to sustain your life.
Stay in your life.
But then that
Sustain
may,
being the key word.
yeah, and keep that meter running.
Mm-hmm.
But that may not be, if you're older, you don't want people pressing on you and breaking things. And
Right.
no, just let me go. And
Yeah.
so you have to put that in writing and then you name someone. Say,
Mm-hmm.
I'm naming Cassandra to be my healthcare proxy.
Yep.
So if anything happens, you speak to her, here's her name, here's her contact information, and she's going to make sure that you abide by my wishes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
These are
And
my
you take
wishes.
that document and you scan it into your medical files and
Yeah.
Yes.
go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is so important. And unfortunately, especially our seniors, they don't know, they don't understand, they don't want to know. That's the key. They don't
Yeah.
really want to know. That's so hard to try to talk to them and try to get them to understand, but it's so important. It's so important. Like I said, I had a hard time trying to get my parents. No, we need to do this. You have to do this. We need to have this stuff set up
Yeah.
before things happen.
Yeah.
And when you think you need it, it's too late.
Yeah.
When you think you
Mm-hmm.
need insurance, it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think you need a will when they lost a bit of their memory,
Yeah.
it's too late. How about it was interesting? No, I'll tell you a true story. I'm not gonna use any names, but a a, a, a woman who attended one of my workshops few years ago, she said, my mom died. And my mom had good amount of resources. We're okay. And I'm on her bank account. So I went to go to the bank to get the money out so I can take care of the funeral home.
Mhm.
And they said, nope, it's you and your mom.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So she said,
Two signatures.
well, that's going to be tough because she's kind of cold right now. She didn't say it out loud, but she said it in her mind. It's like, well, that's going to be tough. Says, well, here's the form you need to have. You get your mom to sign it, get it notarized, and then you can come back here and get the money out. Well,
You
she brought
can't.
the form back notarized, and she had access to the money. That's all I'm going to say. That's
But
all I'm
those
going
are
to say.
the things that we don't think about. Like even
Yeah.
on your checking account, I can't think of exactly what it is at the bank that you can do.
It's called transfer on death,
Yes, there we go.
COD.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if that happens,
Yeah.
there's two things that can, well, let me just say this. You want to make sure that if you're on a senior's account, that it's either or,
Yeah.
not
Not
and.
yet.
That's
Yeah.
one thing. And then two, you want to make sure that you name a beneficiary.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the transfer on death, meaning you bring in a death certificate and then they'll just give you the resource. It does not go to the probate process.
Yes. That's a big to do because probate is crazy.
I spend a lot of time in probate court.
Yeah. Probate is
So
crazy.
we have to we take care of probate
Yeah.
matters for different families,
Yeah.
and we see some things. So they'll come to us when they don't. So some attorneys, I have an attorney on staff, but some attorneys, their meter is running, and they will charge a crazy fee.
Yep.
And we get in. So if there's no infighting, we can get things done in 8 days. Informal, we get it done in 8 days. I just did one Monday. No, yep, Monday. Um, I submitted it,
That's the key. If there's no infighting.
but you know what? When we show up, we just squash that because I said, listen, my meter's running, and if you're gonna keep fighting, I'm gonna charge you for while my meter's running. But if you want to stop fighting, we can get
Yeah.
this done in 8 days. Take your pick. They hush
That's
up.
that's really good.
Yeah, we don't
That's
have time
really
for that.
good. Because
And
the
it's what it
probate
is
is
it's
crazy.
helping people.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
But
And money changes some people, not all people, but
yes,
money and what they're
yeah,
fighting over is not a whole lot of money anyways.
exactly. The
Yeah,
thought of losing every penny that if you thought you had some, it's
yeah,
now gone because we have just been fighting for the last 2 months.
yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now,
Wow.
Cassandra, I have an Uncle Lou. I have an Uncle Lou. I tell everybody because I'll tell you about my Uncle Lou. My Uncle Lou don't have two nickels to rub together. And one time I had to and he always has a get rich quick scheme. They never work out. He stayed with his scratch tickets. They never work out for him.
Oh,
And one time I went to Mass General because I had a sliver of metal in my finger, and I was trying to get to the family, and but someone put me on the speakerphone, and now Uncle Lou, he's not always sober, so he's not always right.
oh
And
no.
so someone heard him say that I was in the hospital, and he said, pull the plug, thinking he's going to get something. I said, he know full well he's not in my will, but say
Yeah,
make sure that people that you name in your will
people
or
that are
important
ones.
documents that they have your best interest in mind, and not
Yeah,
like my Uncle Lou.
yeah. I think we all have some of those in just about every family, and you just have to know, and you have to just be honest about it, you
Yeah,
know, and be serious about it.
yeah.
Wow, I've learned so much. I love this conversation. I told you, I
This
could
is
sit
it.
here talking about this all day,
Yeah. But
but
it's really about empowering our community. In
it
our
is.
community, like I said, there's no color to our community. It's just who we're
There
connected to
isn't.
and who we love.
Yeah.
And just trying to help as many people as we possibly can.
Mhm.
And then, I work in a judgment-free zone. If you knew everything, you wouldn't need me.
Right.
Now that wouldn't be a good thing because if you don't need me, I'm out of work.
Gotta work.
So,
Yeah.
so we
But it's
encourage.
always, I used to always want my own bridal shop, and I thought about, owning a business. And part of the problem was, I am not an accountant major, but I take enough to know some of the basics so that I don't get ran on by somebody that I
Mhm,
don't have a clue.
mhm.
So to have some idea of what someone's saying so that this can't take you for a ride, but you want the experts to be where they need to be,
Yes.
to help and take care of you
Mhm.
and put the things so that you are able to build on something, but you don't want to also go into anything blind and just be like, sure, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't make any sense either.
No. And
That doesn't make any sense. So, wow, this has been a really good conversation.
I'm
I'm,
glad to
I'm
have
going
it.
to start to ask some of our questions if that's okay with you.
Please feel free.
Yes, yes. I'm so excited. Um, so what do you think your purpose in life is? Do you think you're living it out right now?
I think so. My purpose in life is to because it served me well for all these many years, is to make a difference in many people's lives.
Yeah.
Um, for as long as I'm able to.
Hmm.
And that will be part of the legacy, is not what I drove, not where I lived, not what I
Right,
wore, but how many people did I help?
right.
That's part of my purpose.
That's wonderful. Um, what is your definition of success?
That's a great question. Success means different things to different people, but to me,
Yes.
um, it means as long as my faith is right, my family's right, and my friends are right, I'm good. I'm rich.
Mhm.
Amen. That
Mhm.
is that is the definition of
Yeah,
success. And that
because
is
we're good.
that's wealth. That's what wealth is.
Yeah.
That's what real wealth is,
Yes. Hmm.
you know. Um, Now, as a man, I know we talk about women doing self-care, but you have to take some time to help continue to build up Nicholas.
Mhm.
What do you do?
You know, another great one. What we do is, and I said this to Jackie earlier, was when we didn't have anything, before we had all the things that we have now, we
Yeah,
had each other, we had our family. And
right.
so that's what my family, we get together every weekend and
Mhm.
we eat. There's always something to eat. And maybe I'm like clockwork, I'm gonna take a nap. But that's when I feel um, a pause for the cause. Yeah. But that's when I feel at my best, when I'm with people
Yeah.
that love me unconditionally. We're laughing, we're joking, we're uplifting each other. I'm good. And then that's what gives me the energy to get through the next week.
Get to the next week. I know. I'm always the one hosting the family gatherings, as crazy as everybody can get. But then when we come together, we laugh and talk and really have a good time.
Yeah.
That can be crazy, but it's important that we do that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow. That is crazy. And what impact or fingerprint do you want to leave on this world?
Part of the fingerprint or the lasting impact is that, once again, going back to helping a lot of people,
Mhm.
opening up the eyes, many people's eyes, so that they don't get taken advantage of, and knowing that what we did um, had a lasting impact on many people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Who's your biggest supporter?
My family,
Nice.
my family, and
Mm.
yeah, I get a little misty, but we so my aunt who took me in when I was 14, and my aunt and uncle, they took me in, and because my parents they went separate ways, but she laid the groundwork, and my cousins who I grew up with, they were like my siblings, and they still are. And um, if I fall backwards right now,
Yeah.
I'm not looking back because I know that one of them's going to catch me.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and then so we don't fool around. We don't say we don't take it for granted that we have tomorrow to say it. So we say I love you all the time. And we mean it. And we give
Yes.
those big bear hugs and we say I love you like goodness gracious. And I have family up here and I also have family in North Carolina. We get on we just the other day we had a cousin that turned 68 and we have folks in Georgia, Virginia, Boston and we just got on the phone. We couldn't get off the phone.
Yeah.
And we just keep each other uplifted. We're all
Yeah.
going through something, but we knew where we came from, and we're
Right.
Yeah.
thankful that we're here and we're here to make a positive difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
That's good.
And
Mm-hmm.
help one another.
Yes.
That's really wonderful. If you were to say this, what would you title this chapter of your life?
Well, given the fact that um, we're talking about her healing, evolving, and redefining, I think I'm in the evolving stage.
Okay.
Um, because I wouldn't want to be stagnant, but always evolving, always changing, always
Yes.
improving,
Yeah.
and trying to find a different way to reach people because at some point he's going to call me home,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to be answering to you. I'm going to be answering to him, and
Mhm.
I'm going to prayerfully I want to have a good report card.
Yes.
So I think I'm evolving.
Yes.
Amen. Amen. Um, over the course of your life, I know now blank about myself.
I know now that it gets easier.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is when he gives you a lot of responsibility, there's been a million times where you said, how am I going to get through this?
Yeah.
Like, like I'm not built for this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I said to him a long time ago, I said, if you take this away, I'm just going to die. And,
Mm-hmm.
and if you do this, if you take these material things, I'll just die. And so those are my fears.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let me explain something to you. I've lived every one of my worst fears,
Oh my,
and I'm
wow.
still standing.
And you're still
Yeah.
standing.
Amen.
Because he wants us to go through things. I mean, I don't want to I don't want to get in trouble here, but I do have a higher power that I pray to and revere and
Mm-hmm.
seek guidance from. And this one creator, I mean, I don't know if anyone's going to come up with another creator, but there's only one creator who I pray to.
Mhm.
And but it was all designed for the greater good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that when I see certain situations, I'm not going to run around like a chicken with his head cut off. I'm going to know how
Mm-hmm.
to deal with the situation. And also, if I'm in a position to help people, well, I say, no, guess what? I've seen some things and I've actually seen your situation, and this is how we're going to get through that. So,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I didn't sign up to do this. I was called to do this. I was happy in my corporate job, but then I got this calling, said, nope, you're gonna do something different. I'm like, well, how different is it gonna be? Like, I like my life. I'm traveling all over the country and I'm doing some things and I'm so important. And then yeah, no.
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful that I answered the call,
Yes.
and I quit a million times. Don't get me wrong, I quit a million times,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm thankful because the wonderful people I meet, the people who understand what I'm saying. I don't have to speak up here. I
Right.
just, I'm a city boy with country roots, so I keep it simple.
Yeah.
I don't know if you, but I used to get a little mischief. And my aunt, when I come home, my aunt said, don't give me all that fancy stuff. Give it to me the way I need to understand it, so I
Yeah.
know how to defend you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that will help me develop my teaching skill. So and keep me out of trouble.
Thank you. A good aunt. That's a woman. That's a
That's a
good
woman.
woman there. That's your good auntie. If you were to say love is,
Love is everything because you can move mountains with love.
yes,
You
you,
can heal with love. You can make great things happen with love.
Yeah.
The opposite is the you don't even want to discuss that, but you can't move mountains and you can't embrace. You can't do there are a lot of things you can't do with the opposite, but love does everything. It's so
Mm-hmm.
important.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Were to give me 3 or 4 words that describe yourself.
Faithful, strength, and resilience.
That's
Mm-hmm.
good. Okay.
So I use the resilience versus
Mhm.
resilient with a T
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
because it's a process.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say because it's
It's
going on.
ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
Yes.
resilient mean I was resilient. No, resilience like I continue to be resilient.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Now here's the big one. What would you as a man tell the little boy in you now? Like, was there something that you struggled with? Was it something that you just that really just bugged you? Like, for me, I would tell the little girl in myself that I am enough because that was always my thing. You're never enough. So, what would you tell the little boy in you, gentlemen?
Um, the truth is, because I have experienced losses at a very early age,
Yeah.
um, I didn't handle it very well.
Okay.
And it was a shock to the system. Like I said, I assumed that things would be the way they were going to be indefinitely. But I would tell my little self, my younger self, that things do get better in time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's good. I I am so happy to have had this with you. Now, there were some questions that I had sent you, some financial questions that I wanted to ask you.
Mhm.
And honestly, now I'm trying to find them because I can't seem to find them. Um, one of the young ladies that listened to our podcast, she wanted to know about investments. What is the best way? Like, how would you start trying to invest on a small level? What would you tell someone on how to do that?
So what, and I hear that all the time, but when I ask people, yeah, it's good that you want to invest. You're thinking about investing, but what I ask people to do is, like I said, my 5 columns. I ask you, how much do you have for emergency funds? What do you have there? Because the reason why these big companies don't want to speak to folks is because they don't understand the first thing you need to have is an emergency fund, and don't
Yes,
use this money that you're putting here investing as your emergency fund.
right.
So you
Mm-hmm.
need to start somewhere. Is I want you to start with getting into the habit of savings first,
Okay.
Yes.
and then working your way into possibly uh, a mutual fund.
Okay.
Now
And now,
there's different.
now, okay. So probably about 5 times over the course of my life, people have told me I could sell Primerica.
Mhm.
About 5 or 6 times. Seriously, everybody. No, no, no. You could do this. No, 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 no. And so the mutual fund thing always comes up. Is it as easy as they say it is? And is it, so I feel like they tell you a whole lot of stuff about how easy it is, but what is the likelihood that that is really going to present to you some sort of yield of anything of any significance? Or is it really you just have to be consistent and allow it to grow?
Well, yes and yes.
Yes.
Um, it will definitely work for you so long
Yeah.
as you choose the right part. Now, the right type of mutual fund. So with financial education,
Yeah.
we're educating people so they know what a mutual fund is. That's
Okay.
the first thing. Then there's four different types. Just generically, there's a cash mutual fund, which is called a money market mutual fund.
Yeah.
There's a growth mutual fund, which focuses on stocks. There's a bond mutual fund
Oh,
that focuses on income. And then we have a growth and income fund that's a mixture of stocks and bonds.
okay.
Each one of them has a risk level,
Okay.
and your risk level should be attached to your time frame for needing the money.
Okay.
So if it's on the short term, you just need liquid cash, I would use a money market mutual fund. It's easy in, easy out. You earn interest, or you could have it on a tax-free basis, but there's no fees or penalties to take the money out. If you have a longer term, let's say you'd have 10 years or so, then I would probably put you in a growth or a stock mutual fund. So growth and stock are synonymous.
Okay.
And oftentimes people will use these technical terms to make themselves sound more important than what they really are, but that's what it really is. And so you may hear the terms growth, or you might hear uh, uh, typically you'll hear growth mutual fund, but there's different layers to it.
Yeah.
Then also if you don't want a whole lot of risk, you might go, I don't want that risky. I don't want to be uh, over a cliff. Then you might want something a little softer,
Right.
something with a mixture of growth and income, which is stocks and bonds.
Mhm.
And then typically people who are retired, they want less risk, so they want bonds. They just want to focus
Right.
on getting income. So
Yeah.
depending on the time frame and the risk tolerance of the person, that's the type of mutual fund. But then you don't just willy-nilly choose one. You have to get an understanding of the company, um, their rates of return, and how much is in it for you, what their fees are, things like that. So you ask, whenever you put your money somewhere, you always want to ask, what's in it for me?
Right. That's good. And I apologize because now I can't seem to find what I'm looking for with all the questions.
You
Um,
didn't know what the questions were that you asked me? Um, One was, how do you break into investing? How much do you need to start investing?
Thank you. See, you're
But
better.
I'm not going to ask my question and answer a question, but
Why not? Help us sister out here because I was so enthralled that I did not prepare for that. I apologize.
prepared. I'm
Now
ready.
I can't find it. Yes, you're
It's not a
prepared.
problem.
I'm not.
So typically, you can go in with some mutual funds. You can start as little as $25 a month.
Okay, so you can do that.
Absolutely. And then each mutual fund will tell you what their fund minimum is. So $25 a month, that's $300 a year. That's on your plus side. It could be for savings or it could be for a long-term growth oriented thing. Um,
Okay, here we go.
what companies are beginner friendly? Any company that you wave your money to and say, "Hey, I want to give you my money," they're not going to say no.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
They're
true.
not going to say no to you, but they're not going to like you if you take it out 2 weeks from now.
Right,
Okay. And that's with any company. They become unfriendly with that when you want to take it out 2 weeks later.
right.
Mhm.
Okay, then so she also asked so how much you should be expecting to earn within like a year. I mean, because the interest rate now is so low.
It
What
is.
are the interest rates? Now, I'm not sure if I'm asking this correctly. Um, what are the interest rates now? Are they better in a mutual fund or are they better in a putting it on the stock? So what's the best one to earn the most amount? the quickest way? Is that kind of crazy to ask that?
No, it's a great question. So right now, if I ask people this all the time, I said,
Yeah.
I ask people when I'm speaking to a large group, I says, put a dollar on your table there,
Hmm.
and tell me how much interest you're earning at your bank right now in your savings account. And if you can't answer the question, that dollar's mine.
Oh,
And then, but you got to put your phone down. Nope, nope, nope. Wherever you put your money, you need to know how it's working for you. So what's
yeah.
the answer? And then the 1%, 2%. Nope, nope. That's mine. That's my lunch money. Thank you so much. I got my lunch money, and I leave everybody else alone. It's
Okay.
0.04%.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me explain this to you. There's this thing called inflation. And what I mean by that is if I can buy something for a dollar this year, right? If
Next
I
year.
tack on inflation, it's going to cost me a little bit more. So let's say that inflation is at 4%. So I can buy something to, let's say hypothetically, we can buy a loaf of bread for a dollar. I can buy a loaf of bread for a dollar today. Next year is going to cost me a dollar four.
Yep.
Are
Mhm.
you earning 4 cents in your bank account?
And if you're not,
You're not. And what's interesting is this, when you earn interest in your bank account,
mhm.
you didn't really earn it because they're going to charge you taxes on it. They send you a
Mhm.
1099 INT.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Okay. So you earn less than that 0.04%.
Yes.
Mhm.
So you safely lost money.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I ask people, but it's good, it's FDIC insured, all this other, but you don't put your money in the
Yeah.
bank to make money. So then we go to the big boys. We go say we want to go to mutual funds.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask people, say, you look at a mutual fund. If you
Yep.
want to earn more than what you earn at the bank, then you look at a tax-free money market mutual fund.
Okay.
Okay. So that means any interest that you earn is not going to be subject to taxes.
Mm.
Okay. So
Mhm.
you can earn a little bit more there. And
But doesn't
then
that require a higher deposit or to start that in like the $25 or whatever?
$25,
Okay.
$25 a month.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's good to know.
And people are unaware, so they think,
Yeah.
oh, that's too big. I can't, they don't want me. Yes, they do want you. But
Yeah.
they want
Most
you to leave
people,
the money right there though.
right.
And when you start saving, it gets good to you, you save more.
Right.
Mhm.
Because
And if, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 like I said at the outset, I said they know we have purchasing power. We purchase billions,
Hmm.
but how much do you actually save?
Yeah.
And
And this is the
can you
key
save?
to teaching our young people to start saving early. Like if you start, take $10 out of your paycheck, put it in your savings account, you'll never even, I know that it's McDonald's money, which is a lot to some people, single mothers, things like that. But if you start, it becomes more of a habit and it allows it to grow more. Is that a correct statement?
That makes perfect sense to me.
Mhm.
And but the thing is not just that, but we have to shift the focus. Like I said,
Hmm.
everyone wants to look good, but
Hmm.
here's my question to you. They no longer brand folks that looks like us, right? They don't
Right.
that hot thing, but we steady wearing their brands and we dying for their brands.
Brand.
Little
Yes, we
boys,
are.
girls where they get the chain snatch, they get the sneaker snatch, they get the clothes snatch because it has someone else's name on it.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
support you
I
with
saw a guy on the TV last week, and he was saying how we keep talking about bringing back manufacturing jobs. We want to wear the Nikes. We don't want to necessarily make the Nikes. That's the key. They want to
see.
bring back manufacturing job, but who's going to want to do them? And most of us don't want to do the manufacturing jobs.
No.
No.
We lost a
We don't
whole
want
lot of
to
people
want to
that
wear the Nikes, but we don't want to make them.
don't
I
make the
was
Nikes.
just like, oh, that pretty much puts it into perspective. Really easy.
Mhm.
So
Um,
when you're branded, you're not free.
yeah, that's true. That's
We
very true.
weren't free 400 years ago, and we're not free now because every dollar you get goes to pay for someone else's name. I'd rather pay for if I see your name, Cassandra, let me buy that. But let me support you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the truth.
And
Mhm.
That's true. That's
community
true.
worship
Yeah,
So the community, do you spend your money within the community? Whatever your community looks like, white, black, purple? Or does it, you can't wait to, you're allergic to money, you can't wait to go downtown to get rid of your money that you
Yeah.
work 40, 60, 80 hours a week for?
Mhm.
So we changed the mindset, we changed the direction.
Yes.
And I'm asking our folks to, if you want to feel empowered or be empowered, you have to change what you're doing with it. Like I said, my aunt and uncle, they didn't have a whole lot. They were retired when they took me in, and but they had saved. They had that um depression era mentality. So they just held
Yeah.
on to their money and
Mhm.
they looked out for us when they left.
Mhm. One of the other questions I asked was, you've heard of this thing called acorns. And I wanted, you smiled. What is your thought on that?
Okay. So people who are not familiar with investing, I'm not making a judgment, I'm just an observation.
Yeah.
So the way it works is this: you can own a fractional share of a company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so because but you can do the same thing if you go to a larger company. You
Okay.
take your little $25 and you put it in a large company, and I want to invest in a particular mutual fund.
Okay.
And all that money is yours. You're still buying your mutual fund is with a growth mutual fund or anything else other than the money market, you are investing in hundreds of different companies.
Right.
So you're not but how those companies do um, uh, performance wise, you benefit from that. So I'd say I'd rather go to the source versus the fractional source.
Okay.
So I don't want to sip. I want the whole thing.
Okay.
So that's how I compare Acorn to the larger investment companies. Franklin Templeton, Putnam, Oppenheimer,
Okay.
Fidelity, all these companies. I go directly to the larger companies than
Okay.
the Acorn deal.
Okay. And then one of the other questions this young lady asked was, when you start to ask about investing, and how do you calculate your risk? Is it based on your age and your income, family size? Pretty much all of those things. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, that's actually the answer. It really depends on so when you invest, it's not money that you need today or tomorrow.
Mhm.
You're investing for the long term. Now,
Mhm.
long
Okay.
term could be 3 to 5 years, it could be 5 to 10 years, could be even longer.
Okay.
So that's one aspect. But you always have to have a goal. So I'm putting this money away for my children's education. Okay, great. How many
Okay.
years is that? And then how much money do you want to dedicate towards that, earmark towards
Mhm.
that each month?
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting money away for my retirement. Well, how far along is that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's this many years. Well, this is what I'm going to ask you to do. Put this amount away if you can handle it. And
Okay.
what's amazing is this: if you focus on filling up those 5 buckets I told you about, the savings, insurance, investment, retirement, estate planning,
Yeah.
you don't have time or resources to spend it. See, money that you spend, you don't get back. Money that you
Right.
invest is there's an opportunity for it to grow. And
Sure.
we're not speaking to the community about building up assets, but they have a whole bunch of junk and liabilities, things that decrease in value. Your clothes, they're worthless. You go to buy a Fendi bag. Oh boy, I just dated myself, but a Coach bag, excuse me. You buy a Coach bag. When you walk out that store, they're not going to give you the same amount
Appreciate.
of money.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, you buy a car, you roll it off the lot. They're not going to give you the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Yep.
You wear your clothes for a week, you bring it back, you're not going to get the same price. So all
Mhm.
those things that we think are important and that they told us that are important,
Mm-hmm.
they're not important.
Yeah.
And they don't increase and they don't put money in your pocket. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities and all these trinkets take money out of your pocket.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Okay. All
So
right.
the family size. So the thing is this, whatever the family can afford
Mm.
comfortably, that's what they do. They have to factor in what their income is. They have to factor in. So the question is, I'm going to ask this question too. Like, what did we do during COVID? Now, we got a little help, right? Everyone got a little bit of help, and we were inside. And people said, wow, I have more money than I did before. You know why? Because people weren't marketing to you. They
No,
weren't advertising to you. You weren't running and
no,
giving your money away like you were allergic to it. You're holding on to it because we didn't know what was next.
no,
Mhm.
no. And
But
everything was closed. Just about.
as soon as COVID lifted, people went back to having no money again.
Yeah.
But I ask people to focus on this. When it comes to money, you need to have a roof over your head.
Yeah.
You need food.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You need a little bit of clothes. I'm not talking about those clothes in your closet that have tags on them. That you said it was a good deal, I couldn't live without it, and you still ain't wore it.
And still ain't worn.
And still ain't worn it. So roof, a little bit of clothing, a little bit of food, utilities. Those are the things that got us through COVID. If you stick to that, it's
Mhm.
okay. Anything extra is an opportunity for me to change my family's trajectory. I
Yes.
can save it. If people get hooked on spending, they can get hooked on savings.
Mhm.
That's true.
It's just a mindset. It's just changing little by little.
It's a change.
Like I said, I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to keep it PG. But if you don't remember anything else I talked about, and I talked a long time, I'm going to leave. I want you to remember my three F's. Okay.
Three F's.
Now my three F's is two parts to my three F's.
Okay.
So you got my faith, my family, and my friendships.
Yeah.
Right? Those are key. Now my other three F's is what saves me money. So you want to pay close attention to this.
Okay.
So if you're not feeding me, I'm not leaving my family to go outside to look a certain way, drive a certain way, and wear a certain thing to impress any people outside my family that don't have my best interest in mind. Who am I trying to impress?
Amen.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you ain't feeding me, you're not getting out of that.
Yeah.
Aunt Katie said, make sure your clothes are clean. Make sure you got clean underclothes. I said, well, Aunt Katie, if I get hit by a bus, my underclothes ain't gonna be clean no more. She said, boy, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not financing me,
Mhm.
if you're not paying me on a regular basis, why do I need to go outside, leave my family, and go out? And your family knows your struggle, right?
Okay.
Like, say, wait
Mhm.
a minute, hold on. Who am I trying to impress other than my family?
Yeah.
Who do I want to look good for outside of my family? So if you're not feeding me, you're not financing me, I'm not going to leave them to impress you because my
Right.
love is behind these four walls.
Right.
Now, the third F, you might be able to figure that out. If we ain't up close and personal, why do I need to impress any family? Family, see, get out the gutter, family. I gotta clean this up.
Oh, gosh.
I didn't say nothing. I didn't say a
You
word.
look, you look told it all.
I was scratching my eye.
I know you were.
Just a word. My eye.
So if you're not feeding me, you're not financing me. If we ain't up close and personal family, I don't need to leave my home to impress anybody. So I don't need to spend money.
Yeah.
I don't. And me, I ask people if you can, every store you go to, most of them have a app. Click the coupon. You're going to buy it anyways. Don't pay full price for it. Every
Excellent.
store you go to almost has a coupon, has a coupon. Stop and Shop, Whole Foods,
Mhm.
Target, everyone. So
Yeah.
before you go, if you're in that parking lot, you just click. I think I'm gonna get this. Click, 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 and you just show them the app, and it automatically registers, and all that stuff gets a little bit cheaper.
Mhm.
It's a
I
shame
have
to
one
pay full
last
price for
question. I
anything.
know you're about to go. So now in all of this investing, what in what way can you do this without having to pay so much to get someone to assist you in the investing? Like, is it important that you go through someone such as yourself, or is it something that you can find out a way to do it yourself? I mean, because there's a cost to a lot of ones, like I've seen Putnam and things like that. I worked for Putnam many moons ago.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering.
Yes, there. So the thing is this: education is key.
Okay,
And
yep.
just understanding
Educate
what
yourself.
it is. So if you ask the question, if I want to save for my children's education,
Yeah.
you just Google it. Hey,
Yep.
they'll say, well, you have a 529 savings plan, and they're
Yeah.
available here,
Yeah.
here, here, and here. Then you open up the account online. You don't need anyone to, when you have the education and when you start, we are very smart and resourceful folks,
Yes, we
our
are.
community.
Mm-hmm.
And when you set your mind to doing something,
You'll figure it out.
okay, listen, if you want to know where my Uncle Lou is at midnight, I can start Googling, okay, boom, got him. Men can do it, women can do it. They are resourceful. So you can find out anything you set your mind to. How
Okay.
much, and then they got these calculators. How much do I need to save in order to have this much? Online
Yeah.
calculators, they're all free. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
then you say, what is my budget? It's okay, listen, if I was going to spend this money on this, you could,
Yeah.
but, and the other thing is this, and I didn't touch on this, but I want people to be really, really careful and look at the game. Your bank will pay you 0.04%. That same bank will charge someone 23% on their credit card.
Yes.
Okay.
Some high percent.
So people who understand interest, they
Mm-hmm.
earn it.
Yeah.
People who don't understand interest, they pay it.
Mm-hmm.
So to get out of this vicious cycle, I ask people to pay down your debt as best or as quickly as you possibly can, because we can't really talk about investing because most of your money is going 24% and you're
Yeah.
only trying to earn 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
That's so
So
true.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that we need to change.
Yeah.
There is. There is. That's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah.
Jackie, does this make sense?
It makes total sense. I'm sitting here like bells going off, like, wow, I need to change some things in my life. Thank you so much for this and educating us. And when you were in the beginning talking, I love that this call that you have was driven by, a personal experience, you know what I mean? And so I'm glad you answered the call. You were off traveling, but you heard this call and you answered it. And so, I'm grateful for that. And you're making a difference and an impact in our community. And we need this so, so much. So, thank you so much. You need to be in many places sharing this information. So I'm grateful for you taking the time to come and share it with us. And we're gonna put it out on the YouTube world and and hopefully the people that hear it don't just hear it, but take action. Because we can get good information, but it's the application
Yeah,
that we
Yeah.
have to follow through. So, but thank you so much. This was so awesome.
you're
Thank
most
you.
Thank you,
welcome.
Cassandra.
Thank you so much.
Finding these
Jackie,
wonderful
Cassandra,
guests.
So
this is
glad to have had you on, and I'm glad that we had a chance to meet.
likewise. This was really, really good. And I admire what you're doing. I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. I support you wholeheartedly, 100%, 110%. And you're reaching our community, and that's so awesome. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
Thank you
Perfect.
so
Thank
much.
you. Blessings. Have a good evening.
Blessing.
You
Have a
too.
nice Easter.